Welcome to NoobAquatics, and today we got another tutorial, or should I say tip for you here. This is about stocking your aquarium. So everybody out there, they go by the 1 inch rule, or many different rules. I mean, it's almost impossible to really determine what rule to follow when you're stocking your aquarium. And the reason is because not every aquarium is the same. So take for instance the 75 here. This 75, can house, if you do it by the inch rule, can house 75 inches of fish. But keep in mind that in this tank, there is not 70 gallons of water. There's 60 gallons of water. Why is that? Because it's got rocks in there. It's got almost 6 inches of substrate in there. It's got more rocks over here. It's got plants everywhere. It's got coconut huts. Okay, so that takes up volume, and because of that, you don't have 75 gallons of water. So if you follow the inch rule, then you need to know how many gallons of water you have. So here, technically, I could have 60 inches of fish. Do I follow that? Absolutely not. It's a good start though if you're just now getting into the aquarium hobby. Main reason is because the inch rule will help keep you at a lower stocking level, which makes it easier for maintenance, makes it easier for keeping your nitrate levels lower, and it makes it easier in the beginning if you accidentally bought a crap ton of fish and now you have to cycle it with fish in, and now you have to make sure they don't die by using bacteria, so beneficial bacteria, and throwing in something like Sea Chem Prime or Fritz Complete. That combination on a daily basis is a good way to keep those fish alive during your cycle. But if you have a lot of fish in there, the cycle is going to take a lot longer. But yeah, so just like this aquarium here, you'll see it has live plants. That adds to the filtration capacity. All right. Not only that, because of the filtration capacity, the live plants are on the outside as well. Again, more filtration. In fact, these pothos will absorb almost all of the nitrates that are produced from the ammonia to nitrite to nitrate. Almost all of it's gone. I have to actually add nitrates to this aquarium so that it has some for these plants. So that is a determining factor on how many fish you can have. In this aquarium, would I be comfortable if it was super overstocked? Yeah, but it all depends on the size of the fish. So let's get into that. I'm gonna go sit down. All right, so like I said, the rules of how you stock your aquarium, it's different for everybody. How much time are you willing to put into the maintenance? How much time are you willing to put into checking your levels, such as the ammonia, the nitrite, the nitrate, and if you have a lot of fish, even the phosphates, that type of thing. So how much time are you willing to put in it? What type of filtration you have? If you have no filtration, how many plants do you have? If you have no plants, that's what we're going to kind of get into. So let's first start with the aquarium that has bare bottom. So you have in a hang on the back filter, you have your heater, you have roughly exactly the amount of water that the tank is rated at. I would stick, for that particular setup, stick with the 1 inch rule. Okay, so if you have no substrate in the bottom and you have a tank full of empty and you're not willing to do maintenance twice a week, stick to the 1 inch rule, or even less, just to be safe, because when you have no substrate in there, then the only places that the beneficial bacteria have to grow is in the hang on the back filter and on the the stuff in there like the glass, and on the heater, that type of thing. So it's not going to have a lot of places to grow that beneficial bacteria. Now, at the end of the week, if you have 50 parts per million of nitrates in that type of tank, then, and you're not willing to adjust it every single week by doing a half water change or even more, then you probably want to reduce the amount of fish. So it all depends on you. So what do I follow? I've looked at AqAdvisor, and I've looked at that. That's really great as well, but it doesn't account for plants. So if you want to use AqAdvisor, then estimate how many plants are in your aquarium, mainly by a percentage. How much of your actual water volume is, being filtered by plants. So in that 75 back there, it's about 35 to 40% of my water volume being filtered by plants because of the pothos that's on top and the plants that are in the substrate as well as the floating plants. So we got all three areas going, and that can actually allow for a lot of filtration. So I have the hang on the back filter, I have a sponge filter in there, and then I have plants, lots of filtration. So I'm probably over filtered in that aquarium by quite a bit. That's why I'd be comfortable with it being overstocked. And also I have tiny fish in there, so every fish that I have in that aquarium doesn't get bigger than 3 inches. Oh, scratch that. I have 2 that get bigger than 3 inches. The pleco in there, the bristlenose pleco, will get somewhere between 4 and 6 inches at the max, because I'm not sure if it's a male or female just yet. It's a super red. And the Siamese algae eater in there. That guy right there, he started out about 1 inch, and in a month he was 4 inches. So he can get up to 6 inches, and so he's still growing. It's just going to take some time. But those are the only 2 that are huge. But every other fish in there, the pencil fish, the barbs that I have, the epistogrammas, they're going to stay right around 3 inches. So how does that work? 3 inches. You have 3 layers of the aquarium. You have the top, the middle, the bottom. All right. In the bottom, if they stay there, then you can have fish that particularly occupy the bottom. So in this aquarium here, I can have up to 8 epistos in there. That's quite a bit for an aquarium, some people say, but I'd be comfortable with that many because they have a lot of room to travel across the aquarium. In the middle, I can do the same thing. I can judge how much I have, but it's all based on how much I'm willing to put into the aquarium itself. Do I overfeed? If you overfeed a lot and you don't want to have live plants, you probably want to have less fish than the 1 inch rule. If you don't overfeed but still don't have live plants, you can follow the 1 inch rule. Stick with that or use AqAdvisor. If you have live plants and overfeed, you could probably have the 1 inch rule set, maybe even a little more, because the live plants, as long as you're taking care of them, they do really good at filtering out all those chemicals in there. Well, I say chemicals, but out the ammonia and nitrites and nitrates. As long as the plants are thriving and you have the right lighting, that type of thing, and you're not buying high light plants for a low light that you have on the aquarium. If you do that, then your plants are probably going to all die. So it all depends on what you have in the tank. So yeah, so like I said, in my tank I have small, tiny little 3 inch fish. But now let's take it, for instance, let's say that you want to get fish that can get to like 6, 10, 8 inches. So in that 75 back there, I probably wouldn't put more than maybe 4 or 5 fish that can get that big. Why? Because they take up a lot more space, and it just, in my mind, it seems cruel to add 75 inches or even 60 inches of fish, but all of them are super large, like 5 12-inch fish. That seems like just a lot. They need a lot more room to swim. So I would probably use a much bigger aquarium if the fish was larger. So again, it's all up to you. How do you feel comfortable? How do you feel your comfortable level is with the fish that you have? Small fish don't occupy a lot of space, so in essence you can technically have a little bit more in there. Now keep in mind that some fish actually, they poop a lot more than others, so you want to take that into account too. But again, small fish don't occupy a lot of space, so stocking levels could be considerably higher as long as you're balancing out the levels top, mid, and bottom. Larger fish like Oscars, common plecos, you need a huge aquarium because they need a lot of room to grow, a lot of room to swim. If you put, let's just say you have a 20-gallon aquarium and you put an Oscar in there, he's probably not going to be a very happy Oscar. Oscars can get roughly 12 inches or so. I've seen them at least 12 inches. Even caught one in the lake because someone was not willing to keep their fish and decided to dump it in the lake. So I caught it on a fishing line, but and I couldn't put it back. I ended up having to keep it because that was technically not supposed to be there. So we kept it. We ended up taking it off, and unfortunately we had to let it go. We didn't put it in an aquarium because I had nowhere to house it. But yeah, for larger fish, I would probably stick with a much larger aquarium. And if you're following the 1 inch rule, don't go that high. Go lower. Always go lower when it's a lot larger fish. Why? Because they just need more room. Some fish are slightly on the exception. So there are sometimes with African cichlids, you need a lot of them because they have to develop that hierarchy. but that's not a fish I like to keep. They're just too aggressive, and it's just not something I want to help maintain. I like keeping lots of plants in my aquarium, and with African cichlids, that's not always the best bet. So I like plants. But yeah, so smaller fish, I normally keep a lot more in the tank. Larger fish, I keep a lot less. So the rules are different based on the size of fish that you have. What rule do I follow? I follow my rule. My rule is, how much am I willing to put into it? I do maintenance on every one of our aquariums here once a week, but I also monitor my levels. So how do I know that the once a week works? Because in the beginning, I was monitoring my levels every day, twice a week, until I noticed a consistent pattern. And the pattern was, at the end of the week, because of all the plants, we had no nitrates at all in our aquarium. So I had to buy fertilizer to start adding nitrates in there to keep the levels somewhere stable. I actually ended up adding too much, and it created a blackbeard algae problem. So I can have an overstocked aquarium. Now, would I overstock it by 200%? Absolutely not. Now, do I have aquariums that are stocked by that much? Absolutely. And do I have any nitrate problems with them? I don't, because I actually do the maintenance on them and monitor those levels. So our guppy grow out tank is a really small tank, and even though it's small, I have a lot of guppies in there. Let's just say it's at over 500% capacity. My Aquarium grow out tank, again, because we sell those, they're in there, but I monitor the levels and I do lots of water changes. I'm willing to do that. Again, it's probably about 300-400% capacity. But they're not full grown, they're just babies. So it's up to you on how much fish you want to put in those aquariums. Do you want to follow the 1-inch rule? Go right ahead. Just know that you don't have 75 gallons in a 75-gallon aquarium unless it's bare bottom and it has no decorations. You don't have 60 gallons in a 60-gallon aquarium unless it's bare bottom and it has no decorations. So knowing how much water you have in there is important. And then you can follow the 1-inch rule. If you want to follow AqAdvisor, do that. AqAdvisor is great. You can put in your filtration capacity, you can put in the types of fish. It tells you even compatibility issues there. It's great. Now, it's not perfect, but it is great, and it does not follow the 1-inch rule. In fact, most of the time, when you put the fish on there, it's actually less than the 1-inch rule, which means that you're going to be technically understocking your aquarium based on the 1-inch rule. Now, going forward, if you follow none of those, then you start off slow. Add 1, 2, 3 fish, monitor your levels, add 4 fish, 5 fish down the road, monitor your levels, assuming the fish are all compatible with each other. And then in the end, you never know. You may have 30 fish in your 30-gallon aquarium, and you are maintaining it, but there's 3 different levels of fish. You have fish on the bottom, fish in the middle, fish on the top, and they never interact with each other. That's perfectly fine. But if you buy 30 fish that are all bottom fish and they all interact with each other, then you're probably going to have some problems. So do your due diligence. Find out how to layer your aquarium with fish, and you can overstock your aquarium. Again, it's something that we do here. We find out how to layer our fish. We have top level, mid level, and bottom level fish, and we try to, even that out so that we can have a little bit more viewing pleasure in our aquariums. But we do have a lot of plants, so we know what the levels are. Again, so follow the rule that you want. It doesn't mean you have to follow the 1-inch rule, AqAdvisor. You can make up your own rules as long as you're willing, and here's the biggest thing. So it matters if you're actually doing the maintenance and actually doing the testing on your aquarium. If you're not willing to do any of that, or at least you're lazy at it and you want to do it maybe once a month, or you want to test it once every 2 weeks, or you just know that sometimes you're not going to be able to do maintenance, for that type of person, never overstock your aquarium, never fully stock your aquarium, always understock your aquarium. If you're okay with doing maintenance every other week and you know you're never going to miss that maintenance, I would probably stick at the normal rules, the 1-inch rule or less. If you're willing to put a lot more time and a lot more effort into testing your aquariums, know your levels, know your water volume, know that plants absorb nutrients, all of that, if you're willing to put in the time, then you are more than likely able to overstock your aquariums and have less problems. So it's up to you. So thanks for coming in here to NoobAquatics and listening to what I have to say about stocking your aquarium, and you have a wonderful day.